guys, welcome to another episode of Guerreros Podcast. Today I got, man, I want to say Richard, right? Richard Gonzales. I almost said the wrong name. Woo. I just met this gentleman last night, but it was very interesting to me because this man, this man is on his way on his way to get 400 homes, right? I'm a homeowner, but just listening to him going to purchase 400 homes is just one of those things that it's unheard of to me, because just getting one home it took me years just to purchase one home. So we got Richard right here, Richard Gonzales. Richard, can you please introduce yourself a little bit? Let our audiences know what you do, where you come from, and what are you doing all the way in Cali, man?
Yeah, so I'm actually from San Antonio, Texas. I've been a real estate investor for almost 10 years now. So 10 years ago, I decided to go full time, and now that's my main business. Okay. So I know we'll talk about a little bit more about maybe how I got started and some of my failures that I done, which is a lot. So obviously you don't get to this point just by cruise control.
Doing good all the time, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of roadblocks and hoops to definitely jump.
So right now that you mentioned that, and we're just gonna go in straight, man, because I think it's one, you gotta head to the airport, man. I don't want to hold you back. And two, I think it's an amazing story. Through my journey, I've noticed that anything that we do in life has to do with a mental state, a mental block, a mental something, right? Mental fortitude. So for you to get to the level that you are on now, what was like one of those things that you had to change about your mind? Because dude, you're freaking doing some big moves, man.
Yeah. You have to change the definition of failure, right?
Mm.
So I think that's the biggest challenge, because a lot of people think, okay, I lost money, this didn't work out, and then they throw in the towel. So when you change your perspective, like I remember, I was 18 years old when I started getting into business. So it's been 23 years since then. I'm 41 years old. So basically, I've been an entrepreneur for 23 years. And my very first book I read was by John Maxwell, Failing Forward. So that book basically trains you. What if failing was a positive? What if instead of seeing it as a negative, you're now changing the perspective. And so what that did was, I wanted to fail faster. So because every failure now equates to getting closer to your target. So it's crazy how it's just a perception, right? And the way that you perceive things. So that was at 18 when I read that book.
What was the name of the book again?
Failing Forward.
Failing, not falling, failing forward. Because the first time I heard that, I actually heard John Maxwell give a speech about that with Albert. And he's like, when you want to fail, make sure you fail forward. Yeah. And then kind of just make sure that you get back up and don't fail the same way. Yeah. And when you fail again, it's a new fail, but fail forward. I think it's a very cool, a very good thing to change your perspective, man.
Absolutely.
Do you have any mentors that guided you through what you do, other like the books, or do you have anybody like coaching you through it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously now I've been part of a lot of masterminds, mm-hmm. a lot of kind of, they call them inner circles, groups, that type of thing. So I'm a big believer, surround yourself like-minded individuals that are trying to accomplish a goal.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in a certain niche, if you can find other people that have already done what you've done in the same industry, I mean, you're pretty much shortcutting the process. So whatever it takes to get in those groups, I would recommend that. And they're everywhere. I mean, they're even virtual. Mm-hmm. So it's really just having the desire to really want to learn something, and then plugging into those systems, because everybody has coaching programs now. I mean, it's unlimited. So
yeah, everybody does coaching nowadays, like for just about everything.
Absolutely.
Right? So what was it for you that, or how young were you when you started? You said it was 20.
So I was 18.
18, yeah. Right? Okay. So when you because at 18, man, I remember I was 18. Yeah. I none of this was going. It wasn't until I was like late 20s where I was like, I need to change my life. Yeah. Right. So at 18, what went through your head? Because I think that's interesting. At 18, we're very young. We just want to party. We want to do everything but work, right?
Yeah.
So what went through your head or your mind that made you make that shift to, it's like, this is what I'm gonna need to focus on?
Yeah. So I got introduced to business at 18 years old through basically a mentor. I ended up joining one of those network marketing companies where you recruit people and You build a little pyramid. Um,
Build a
so,
little
so,
pyramid.
so, or they call them
Yeah,
that.
the MLM.
Yeah, the MLMs, network marketing. So I just happened to stumble across one. I responded to an ad. Next thing you know, I'm on a phone with a regional vice president of who knows where, and next thing you know, I'm doing a present. They're doing a presentation for me, and then, hey, do you have $500? And I said yes, and that was it. So that was the. I knew I wanted to do something different. I don't know what it was. Luckily, I got accepted to a university, actually here in California, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I was going for engineering, and I was the first person to be going to college in my entire family. Like, I'm not
That's
talking
a
about
big thing.
my immediate family, but my entire family.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
man, that is a big thing.
So for me, business was never really in my DNA,
Yeah.
you know. But I always been curious, you know. During high school, I sold MP3 CDs. I would sell things on eBay, you know, different things, just to make some money.
So you were the guy that would be like, hey man, you think you could burn me some songs into this? Yeah, we'll do $5, $10.
I remember Napster and all this, and you would
Yeah.
download them, and then you would have 20 songs, 30, 40, and then like when you can mix them, like, man, that was unbelievable, you know.
Yeah.
So people would come to my house, and it would take them an hour I only have 30 songs, man. Like, doesn't take that long to make
Yeah.
a CD. Like, just choose them and we'll hit burn.
Yeah, that sounds like the guy that was like, dude, just freaking pick the songs. It's just like 10 songs. Like, all right, dude.
They would have to keep hearing it and be like, I'm like, I'm charging $5, man. Come on, you know. So, anyways, but see, I always curious. I was always the guy kind of doing something, and that's what maybe even if I would be able to talk to, you know, my classmates from back in high school, they'd be like, hey, you're that guy that was always trying to do something, or selling something or whatever. So I was always very curious. But like I said, so now I go to college, I respond to an ad, and I'm being recruited into one of these companies, and then I drop out of college. So I dropped out, and somebody asked me, how'd you drop out? Well, I finished my first year, and you're supposed to re-enroll into the next semester, and I just didn't re-enroll. I literally just stopped going to school, and I remember I came back to my parents' house during the summer, and they're like, hey, this isn't school starting next week? The classes were full, I didn't do it on time. Okay, well, next semester. I did it again. Hey, by the third time they realized I was not going back. So I continued to build that business, right? And I call it build because I was just, plugging into a system, listening to audios, books. You know, they get you into that mentality. Luckily, I had a good mentor. You know, I had a guy that was like at a whole nother level business wise, and his background, he's Middle Eastern, so his culture, I mean, is way different than the Latino culture. You get brought up to be almost a businessman. You know, I tell people they get you 2 bikes, one for you and one to rent. Like they condition you to start thinking like that.
Yeah.
You know, so when I met him, I mean, you can only imagine. I was very undisciplined. I didn't have any skill sets, but I had a good mentor. I had a good leader that would get my ass out of bed.
Yeah,
like,
that's
hey,
cool.
You got to make calls. You got to do this. And maybe
Someone holding you accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a struggle with that for sure.
Yeah, there's some stories that he'll tell you. I didn't show up to my first meeting, which is my meeting. and
like you were supposed to give it.
Yeah. When you sign up, you're supposed to have they call it private business reception, where you invite your friends to.
Oh yeah, I've done that with PHP.
I didn't show up to my own meeting, so he still clowned on me about that, because it's like, who doesn't show up to their own meeting? And I'm like, that's how bad it was. That's how bad undisciplined I was. You know, eventually, obviously, with so much repetition, practice, and we actually did decent in that company. Like we got to one of the. I think the second highest position, and I was 19. I would go on stage. Hey, I'm Richard. I'm a regional vice president or coordinator, whatever it was. What the hell? And then eventually that business kind of outgrew me. It just took off too fast, and my leadership wasn't there. So there's a concept that John Maxwell calls the law of the lid, meaning you're only able to lead somebody to the level that you're at. You're not going to lead a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant if you're not at that level.
Correct.
You know. So it was very painful to try to rebuild it. And then eventually I started my first company at 23 years old, and that was in the credit card merchant services business. So doing the POS systems, setting up business owners to accept credit cards, that type of thing. And even till today, what is it, 19 years later, I still have that company. It's just I'm not doing anything with it at the moment.
Just is it still like producing you?
It still has active merchants.
Okay.
People that don't want to change. They're just loyal and. But I haven't added a single new merchant in over 10 years. So basically, the time that I went full time into real estate,
You just
it just
put it
stayed
to
there.
the side.
Yeah, still like I said, I still get a paycheck from it, and that was the goal. The goal was to build that portfolio, that company, and then sell it. And a lot of people had done that in that industry. They sell it to Visa, MasterCard, banks, processors, for millions of dollars. And we'll talk about another failure. Kind of how I transitioned from that too.
Okay.
So
Talking about failures, man, I'm always very transparent, man, with my life, especially now that I've been in the Driven Academy, right? But for me, I see you have your partner here. I always admire people that have their partners right next to them, especially when you're a businessman, a businesswoman. Like, it's tough because of the sacrifices that you got to make. Like, it's not for everybody to be right next to you, like in my situation, my wife does support me in a way. It's like, all right, man, I'll drive, but I'm not going to no fucking meeting. Like, I'll drive you there, but don't expect me to show up, And so to me, this is a beautiful thing because I wish I could do that with my wife, right? It's like, hey, come along.
Yeah.
Or even if you don't want to do the business thing, like, at least ask me how it went. She doesn't care one single thing about it. Like, that's my job, But how is it that you guys are able to work together? Because I find it very interesting, honestly, especially dealing with the little rough patch in my case. What is it? How do you guys communicate, or how do you guys go about making sure that you guys are on the same page?
Yeah, so like you said, communication is the key, right? So, and there's different levels of communication, and we work together now. So number one, she's always been very supportive of everything that I do, even though she wasn't in the business at the beginning, but she supported me. I bounced ideas off her, and then like that mastermind mentality, that third mind answers, and I'm like, I got it. Like, what'd you get? I'm like, literally just talking to you, and you can't do that concept. You can't do that concept by yourself.
Yeah.
And again, if you look it up, that's what the mastermind concept is. Like that book, Think and Grow Rich. It's based on that concept. It's like a subconscious thing, and all of a sudden you figure it out. But yeah, for me, she's actually my balance to in life in general, because if not, I'd just be working all day.
That's beautiful.
I wouldn't be able to shut it off and stuff like that. So for me, it's really just and now she's a big support. She helps a lot in the business. We do different things, so she's able to do the design work. We're in real estate. She helps out in the office, so certain things. So I'm very appreciative.
So what is your role within what you're doing right now?
Sure.
Trying to purchase or get to 400 homes. What is your role?
So I'm the operation basically manager. So I'm basically the guy that is in charge of all the departments. A lot of people have CEOs and they call it integrators. The guy, because sometimes you need a guy that does the vision, and then you need a guy that can operate. That's why they say, Apple had Steve Jobs as the visionary, but then had
Henry.
Wise,
I know who you're talking about.
I forget his partner name, but same thing. And there's a lot of companies. Ford. There's a book called Rocket Fuel, and that's where you learn about integrators and the people that actually do the operation and stuff like that. I think by necessity, I had to be both. So I'm one of those entrepreneurs that I had to learn like the grunt work, like do every position, and then be able to pass it over to somebody else once I understood it. I was just telling somebody the other day. We just started social media not too long ago. I'm still mastering it, and I want to get somebody until I'm feel competent and be able to say, hey, I know everything about it.
It's your turn.
Yeah, because I don't believe in the saying the blind leading the blind. And that's kind of what network marketing is. People just
throwing shit out. Literally,
they're leading people that can lead, and it's just the blind leading the blind. That's the saying. So again, now with my experience and reference points, then I'm a big. So that's what I do. I'm in charge of the operation piece of the company, whether it's acquisitions. So we have to acquire properties. So we have a company that does that. Doesn't mean I do all the work. It means that.
I was trying to wrap it around. I was like, damn, man, this guy's over here doing all this stuff on the, like, God.
No, it means I oversee it, right? So, like, I mean, I'm more of a COO.
Making sure that everything's running properly.
So basically the chief operating officer in a corporate structure.
So how many people are you in charge of through like your whole ventures and your whole businesses?
So I think our total team is probably close to 80 to 90 people. I'm mostly in charge of like the department heads, right? The people, the managers.
The people that report back to you.
Correct. So those are the people I support the most. Right now I do manage a lot of the construction side of the company. So we have a construction company that's able to fix these properties and then be able to do them on budget, on time. So I enjoy that. So if you ask me, that's one of my enjoyment. I like creating things. So when I'm out there in the field, I things speed up, because again, I just see things differently.
Yeah.
And even though I have a construction manager, I can kind of give them my, how to do it a lot faster, quicker tips, and hopefully eventually with time, it rubs off. But at the beginning, you have to keep, plugged in. I'm not a big believer of like, oh, my business runs on its own. I haven't touched this in 10 years. Trust me, those people have no clue what's going on in the back end. And recently I saw a post of somebody I look up to, really big in the real estate business. When I say big, is like one of the guys that's like, he's a Latino, one of the biggest guys. Oh, I just lost 10 million. My partner been cheating me, this and that.
Oh,
but yet he's been promoting for 10 years that he's the best because he doesn't have to work in the business.
You do have to work.
You
right?
do. Yeah. So it just
keep eyes.
It just reiterated my belief that anything you just descuidas, it's not gonna work.
Como dicen, el que tenga tienda que la tienda. ¿verdad?
Exactly.
So, I mean, the reason why I asked how many people like you take care of is because I'm still working on building my actual real team, right? Because I mean, I cannot work with family, dude. Like the only reason I'm working with them is because that's the only thing I can get at the moment. But I want to build a legit team where my family, I can literally be like, you know what, dude, just sit down. You don't need to do anything. But even if I do, he still works. It's the old school. But the reason why I ask is because it is a big responsibility to take care of other people, because it's not just about you anymore, right? It's about the people under you, their families, the young ones. So how is it that you are able to stay composed in situations where I'm pretty sure you had some headaches, right? How are you able to stay composed, or do you just lose your shit and you're like, nah, we need to fix this?
No, one of my biggest drive, I mean, there's a lot of things that drive me, but one of the main ones is what you just mentioned, that now we're responsible for somebody else, right? Or anybody that you bring in your business. Now they're depending on you for their well-being, for the food they put on their table, their kids' clothing, you name it. Yeah. So that can be taken very lightly. And that's why for anybody that's listening to this and still hasn't done their first hire, they're trying to figure it out. Maybe they're like, well, how do I hire somebody? Who, what, where? You just got to bring somebody in to learn the do's and don'ts. So a lot of the learning that I have done is really by trial and error. And even today, if I have a new position, like let's say I have a social media position, I've never done a social media position, right? So I'm going to have to learn that. So the chances of my first hire be a success is very low. But I can assure you, after the first person, I'm gonna learn what not to hire. So eventually you refine it, you set the expectations, because now you're like, okay, now I know what I don't want. See, most people don't know what they want, but they can definitely tell you what they don't want.
Yeah.
Or like if I tell, hey, what kind of guys do you want? I don't know. What kind don't you want? No, I don't want this. Smokers, this. See, everybody knows that. What food don't you like? I don't want spicy. This. It's so easy. So eventually, it's just like a puzzle. It becomes clear, and now you understand the ideal person, and then eventually you can put that out there, the intention, and then you're able to attract that. So that's my, kind of how it's worked for me. There's really no secret sauce. I've been good, obviously, at communicating, right? Giving them vision. Like if you came in my business, then we would go over our 5-year plan,
Nice.
10-year
That was gonna be
plan.
my next question too. I was
So-
like, do you like walk them through what the vision and the mission
because
is?
nobody just wants the job.
Yeah.
And there's bigger things than just getting a paycheck. Some people want to, like my project manager, my construction is like, I want to be here for the 500 house. So I was like, whoa, that's thinking pretty big. And for him
He's already ahead of you, man. That's beautiful.
Right. So that's pretty cool when somebody's telling you that, like they want to be there.
They're part of that mission, that vision.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So it just lets you know the that they see what you're doing and they want to be part of the cause.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can help with their skill set and make money, then it's a win-win situation for everybody. So it really, I think that's what it comes down to. Like right now that you mentioned, you want to build that team. Well, eventually there will be people or teammates that want the same thing or want to be part of winning a championship, winning, the playoffs. That's how
being
it works.
part of that winning team,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So how is it that that you would deal? Because like I said earlier, like I asked you earlier, like I'm pretty sure you had headaches. Do you also have those people that they're not on board or that may not be part of the mission or the vision?
All the time.
And how do you deal with those individuals?
So there's my mentor once taught me, people are either moving up or they're moving out. Like there's literally no other option. So if people are not growing, if they're not getting better, if they're not able to take more responsibility, I mean, not everybody are designed to be managers, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but they have to be responsible. They have to be able to carry their own weight, right, and help the company. At the end of the day, like we said, there's a mission. So when you have somebody that doesn't align with maybe your core values, right? Does it mean you give up on them? No, of course not. I have a hard time, and that's maybe my weaknesses or weakness is that I just keep trying until like I have exhausted every option.
Yeah, cabrón. Do you ever lose your cool or anything? Because right now, like you have such a even from yesterday, man. Like you have such a cool, a cool vibe, a really relaxed, subtle energy. Like you look like a really happy person to me. You look like really chill. So have you ever had a moment where you're like just freaking lose your mind?
Always.
It's just construction, man.
Yeah. No, I'm actually very serious when it comes to business. Okay. So I would say I'm probably one of the most serious guys like that you want to work with because I take it very serious. Like meaning that when you're working in my company, like there has to be productivity. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like nobody's gonna work 8 hours, but technically they work 1 hour. It's just not gonna work. Especially we're a small medium company. It's not we're not a corporate 500 with 10,000 employees and 80 of them can be on the phone all day and it still works. It doesn't work like that. And when you're a small business owner, every position is important. Every position has responsibility. So that person has to be able to at least be able to handle that or be able to help out on a daily basis. Now I'm not saying every other day or literally consistency. So absolutely. So it's my job to keep people in focus, motivated, and kind of like you have to. It's like getting an adjustment.
A chiropractor.
Yeah, adjusting you. You have to adjust people, and sometimes I adjust people daily. So.
You're like, because I have a chiropractor back home, man, so I couldn't imagine. He's like, dude, you always come back and you're like a freaking wreck. I was like, I could imagine you were your employees like, dude, I'm trying to get you lined up, but you just keep coming back to me all broken, man.
Sometimes they just get out of alignment right away, and you're like, oh man, this guy's thinking differently, and that's when you have to jump on the phone and give them your perspective and say, hey, wait a minute, you understood this way on. So communication is probably the most important, So. That's why if somebody hasn't hired somebody, like I mentioned, you got to start. And once you bring that person into your ecosystem, into your environment, a different motivation will come through. Because now you're like, okay, well now I asked for an employee or an assistant or a helper, but now I don't know what to do. So see, it forces you to grow. And I think the people that are trying to like create this perfect position with all the perfect job duties and expectation, it's not gonna work. It's just not. Trust me. Once they come in, and it goes out the door. especially if it's your first person, you know.
Who was your first hire? Like, what position did you fill in first?
So I had a admin assistant. So basically somebody that can help me with all the paperwork, an office, you know, basically an office assistant. That was my first hire. So like I mentioned, I've done every position. So I used to be the guy that in leased the property, moved in the tenant, took them all that process.
You were literally process from beginning to
yeah,
end.
absolutely,
Holy shit.
absolutely. But that's enabled me to help out, you know, my departments, my teams when we're struggling, because I'm able to give them advice that it's real, right? It's like I've been there, done that. Versus some of the management or, you know, people that are in some companies, they put a manager that's never done anything, and they're like, yeah, this guy's my manager, but he's a jackass.
He just got the title, right?
He just has the title. See, I'm not a believer in that, especially in small businesses.
Yeah.
You need people that know
what the hell they're doing.
That can support it. That can support them. Absolutely.
So how many years you're about to be 7 years in, right?
10.
10?
Oh, yeah, 10. And
Where the hell did I get 7 from? I think. Well, so you're about to be. Oh yeah, 10 years in, because it'll be fun. Yeah. So you're about to be 10 years in. If there was something is there something that you would do different if you were to start, like, all right, I'm back at 18 years old with all the knowledge you acquired up to now? Is there something that you would do different?
Yeah. So it's basically what I'm doing right now differently in the real estate world. So when I got into the merchant services, I knew a lot of people that had done, you know, big things in it. So I caught a wave too, like the tail end of the wave, where if I would have had more capital, I probably would be at a whole nother level. So one thing I would have done different is figure out a way to raise capital right away, especially when you have a business that's working, it's functioning, and you're killing it, is to be able to expand and scale your business. So I didn't do that. I didn't do that in the merchant services. I could have been right now one of the biggest credit card service providers out there, but because of limitations, like I remember I used to have all these sales reps, and I would pay them commission up front, and we were bringing in so many accounts at one point that I almost had to slow down the accounts because I didn't have the money to even upfront these are guaranteed sales. This is like, I pay you 200, I get 500 30 days down the road or something like that, right? It's just, imagine being able to exchange that as quickly as you can.
Velocity, like
velocity of money. And because of you're limited, you only have so much capital, so much, you know, you're making, then you're only able to scale to that level. And we still did very good, but that was probably the biggest thing. So now in my real estate, I happen to have that opportunity again, where I'm like, there's a lot of opportunity out there. We're in the right market. We have the systems in place, the resources. So now, you know, we're back with the capital. Because in real estate, it's very cash intensive. Like you got millions of dollars in the bank. In real estate, you'll run out quick.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have $100 million, you buy $10 million properties, you're done.
It's done.
So then how do you keep it going? You know, how do you keep a machine running in real estate? You know, you need a
cash flowing machine.
You need a cash flowing machine, access to capital, you know, other investors' money, that type of thing.
So let me ask you this, because right now you said we're in a really good position, or it was a good industry, right? Are we really, with everything that's going on right now, interest rates, all this stuff, like that's one of the things that caught my attention about. You're like, yeah, dude, I'm over here. I'm like the only kid in the playground right now, and I pictured it, right? I was like, this kid's like freaking everywhere. So while everyone is over there freaking scared, running around, just kind of sitting on their hands waiting for something to happen, you're out here freaking putting in the work. Like, what does it take to be that person, man? Because not everybody's doing it.
So like you mentioned, it's the mindset, right? It's the vision that you have. So instead of, like they say, when people, especially in real estate, some people make a lot of money in down markets. And I always ask myself, wow, you know, like I even think back of the 2008 crash. I'm like, how would I have been able to capitalize on that? And even then, I wasn't in real estate back then. So I think about all those situations where there's opportunities in the market, and if you know what you know now, you'd be able to capitalize on it. So obviously we got the experience now. We've done a lot of transactions. We got we're able to fix the properties. We're able to manage them. So we do everything in house, and I think that's what has separated us from everybody else, is that we don't depend on any other source besides our own. So that enables us to kind of control the quality, control if we have a vacancy, what's up to us how fast we can rent it. If you're using an outside property management company, I mean, they have hundreds of houses that are vacant. So why would they put yours first as a priority? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So see, these are the things that you as you're building your business, you realize the building blocks. Like, I'm going to need to build my own property management company if I want to hold on to real estate, if I want to scale. Because I remember, when I got started, I'm always going all in. But sometimes, like, man, if I don't collect rent for 2 months, I'm going to lose the house. So I couldn't afford that. So a lot of it is like out of necessity, right? It drives you. I can't say more about, when you put yourself in those situations, and it's
kind of like a wall behind you. You're like, dude, well, you just got to keep forward.
You have to. But that's going back to the market question, is like right now is the biggest opportunity for buying. I'm not saying for selling, but definitely for buying. Obviously, most of the stuff that we buy is distressed, so it's off market. We buy most of our properties from wholesalers or agents that are pocket listings, or everything that's off market, so it doesn't reach the market.
The listing trend.
Correct. So it's a different animal. Even when the market was good, people would call me, Richard, how's the real estate market? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really play in that market. Like, we have our own market, and that market today is better than it was, in my opinion, like 7 years ago. So what I'm trying to say is the prices I was paying in 2017, I'm paying them right now. So my question is, like, why would somebody not take advantage of that?
Yeah, I was like, so if the prices are still the same, that means that things might just start to get better, right? Because it's like a cycle thing. Like, yeah, the shit might have been coming down, but the only reason I got into real estate is, one, I wanted to get my feet wet. Mm-hmm. Two, I knew real estate. Like, everyone I talked to was like, dude, this real estate. Yeah. Real estate is gonna help you do this. Real estate that. And then lastly, I just wanted to have something that could be like, yeah, it's my home. Yeah. So like for you, how you're trying to hit 400 homes by the end of this year?
Yeah.
And how many homes have you gotten so far?
This year, probably about 20 some. So we started the year at like 350. I was looking at our title tracker and kind of seeing all the transactions. That's how I figured it out. I literally had not looked at this in a long time. I kind of just put my head down and just went. But at the beginning of the year, I was just getting organized, and I was like, holy crap, like, that's amazing. Like, somebody asked, I don't know if it was you or somebody, what wanted you to get to that, and you don't think about that at the beginning, because you just want to do good, build a business that works, but then eventually you get good at it, and you start scaling it. There's opportunities that arise. Like, I remember my big, like during COVID, we had like a huge year. We probably bought like 40 plus properties, and you're like, how do you buy in COVID? Well, they all came with tenants. They all came with, because all these landlords wanted to sell the property because they couldn't evict them. They were not getting rents, and they just wanted to get out. They're like, literally, like, I'm tired of this.
So you're coming from Texas, right?
Yeah.
How the hell do you kick people out in Texas? Because, dude, out here there's no way, man.
So see, me growing up in California and then moving to Texas, it gave me a little competitive edge, because I understand the difficulties out here, where I'm talking to construction people and how long it takes to get a permit here or even do anything. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in a city or a state that's very pro-business, and I'm able to get a building permit within a couple of days. Like, that to somebody out here would be like,
yeah, even right now I'm like, damn. Dude, and I'm here like, geez, you got to make a trip, and then you got to wait to see if they approve you, and then see if you filled it out right. Yes. Like, dude, that's a freaking process.
So that's what I mean. It'd be 10 times difficult. So obviously, being in a market that, that's more
in your favor.
Yeah, right? It makes a huge difference. Yeah. So those are see, that's what I'm saying. People want me to say, like, what's the one thing that drives me? It's like, you got to understand everything, the whole picture, right? It's easier to build. You know, the city's not as stringent yet, at least yet. I mean, one day they will. So then the opportunity right now, it's up to what you can do. Eventually, you can be in vehicles like I was in the network marketing vehicle. I could have stayed there and grinded for 10 years. Would I be today where I'm at? Probably not. So what is the difference? Is the vehicle. The vehicle. Sometimes people are just not on the right vehicle, and all you do is continue doing the same thing you're doing, but and all of a sudden that vehicle just takes you further, and that's what it was for me too. You know, I was able to get into a vehicle that, I mean, it's a high ticket. It's real estate. I mean, houses, like you said, a lot of people, they're like, man, I have one house. How do you how do you buy so many?
How many have you kept that? How many do you have, like, are you keeping?
So we're holding right now over 100. It's closer to the 200 mark around there.
And do you have like a time limit or a set year that you're like, I'm only going to hold it up to this year, or you're just going to be like, they're staying?
Yeah, right now, obviously, as we're getting better at everything, we want to hold the best real estate. You know, that gets exciting. Like I tell people, just buying another property doesn't get you excited. What is like, oh, I got this one, the one across the street, the one on the side, and it's like you're playing Monopoly now. So that to me is exciting. You know, not just having 10 properties all over LA where you're driving 2 hours.
You're buying the whole freaking block all around, collect, go through, collect, buy the next house. Is there a specific block that you actually do own?
So basically, all of our properties are within a 3-mile radius. So just imagine 3 miles from here, and just throw darts everywhere, and that's where they're all at.
Then it's just gonna be full of darts. It's gonna be one big old community owned by you. Yeah. Man.
So that's why somebody was like, "Hey, why do they call you the East Side King?" Because again, I'm in downtown San Antonio, and I'm predominantly investing in the east side of downtown San Antonio.
Yeah. Who's your biggest competitor out there, or like who's like right there, right beside you, or right behind you competing?
I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of investors that have came and then left. I remember I went full time 2015, and the first 2 years went like they were really growth years. Then the area started gentrifying. The prices started going up like crazy. I'm talking about they doubled, tripled overnight. So now everybody went in. Like imagine just every investor you can think of in the city. So now the off-market price, the fixer-uppers, they were going for too much. Like the numbers didn't make sense, and I kind of figured that in 2017. I'm like, man, I knew it. I should have went a lot harder in 2017, and then it adjusted again. Another wave happened. 2020, nobody was buying, and I was one of the few. Right now, like I said, it reverted back to like 2017. So imagine if I was kicking myself in 2018 of what I should have done more, and now like
you're there,
I'm back to the same spot. You can only imagine what it does to someone.
Like, and God is like, hey bro, we're here again. What the hell are you doing? Get
exactly.
to it.
At that point, I'm like, I'd be foolish, you know.
So let me ask you, this is for you. What is the most important thing in your life to be able to run a successful business, to be able to have a successful relationship? I mean, I'm not gonna say successful because I don't know your story, right? But at least to be able to build with your partner. What is that one thing that's very important to you?
Family, for sure. So I'm gonna be a father, within the next year. So that's definitely gonna change my perspective on a lot of things, So obviously leaving a legacy. And I just like real estate. I really love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy creating, and I don't think real estate is going anywhere. Maybe you leave a business, your kids might not want to do a business, but who cannot just manage rentals or give it to a company?
Your own company at that, right? Your own. Property management company.
But that is the impact. Obviously, right now, we're impacting the community, the area. We're helping gentrify it. We're creating jobs, opportunity, and we feed a lot of people. So that's the impact right now. The fulfillment. It's never just about you. Like when you get to this point, it's not about how much money you make. It's not about because again, if you have real estate, you can just rent them out and then be like, you know what, I'm not gonna acquire no more. We don't need construction. We don't need X Y Z.
Don't need the headaches.
Yeah, you don't need the headaches. You know what? Cut half the. But it's not about that. Now it's just a bigger purpose. So that would be the key. It's like it's not about you. There's a bigger reason why you're doing what you're doing.
Correct. Correct.
Big, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is. But I'm a big believer in that.
So, and I want to touch this a little bit. Yesterday they were talking a lot about legacies and once I die, this is what I want them to say. What is that one thing that you want your tombstone to have, brother? I know it's a weird subject, but like we're far from it. But if you're talking about legacy, you're talking about leaving something behind. Yeah, those like you said yesterday. I want my tombstone to say this guy always showed up. He fucking, you know what I mean? And then we have someone else that said, who was it? Dang, I forgot who it was. But basically saying that they were doing what they were supposed to do. That they're what they're putting on as a legacy is what's gonna get left behind on their tombstone. What is it that you want to leave behind?
Yeah, I mean, I want to change our family tree, right? So if you go back to your family and where your parents are at, your tíos, stuff like that, from that point forward where you're at, I want to be able to impact it, whether it's financial education, whether it's because I didn't get brought up as a business owner or as in business period, right? We get taught to go to college, get a good career, and that was it. And I was headed that direction, but I knew it wasn't for me. Once I got over there, I realized that, I always had that itch, to do something different, and if it wasn't because I got accepted into a good university, I wasn't even gonna just take the regular route. I was probably either gonna join the military or something. Totally different than most people. It was
like go big or just go home, right?
Absolutely.
So this is a perfect spot, man, to ask you this. I know you probably gotta be. You said at the airport by 2:03.
Yeah, 3. But I gotta take off by 2:30.
Perfect. Yeah. No, it's not, we'll be okay. Let me ask you this. With everything that you had going on, everything that you've been doing, what does it mean to be a guerrero to you? Because it is, you got 10 years of freaking hard work, man. It's like I'm barely at year 5 and I'm over here freaking stressing. I can only imagine year 10. It probably got easier, right? But
no, it's a good example, right? It's for our community, our people, like me now meeting successful people or meeting like-minded individuals that we're the same race, same culture. To me, that means a lot, especially when, like I said, we didn't get too deep into my story, but I mean, there's the fact that I've made it at least to the level where I'm at right now. I mean, I want to be that example, and that's one of the reasons now I'm doing this. I'm doing social media because it's going to connect me with people that I would never else be able to connect any other way. Like walks of life that they're like, hey, I saw you here, I saw you there. And I'm like, well, if I didn't do that, there's no way. There's somebody here that's watching us right now that's going to reach out, or I'm going to come across them, and it's like, man, we might do something together. You never know.
Hey, so. If you guys have any questions for him or for me even, you guys can always reach out. Where can they find you, brother? What are your handles? Because I was going through your handle. You don't have that many posts, but you got some good interaction, man.
Yeah. No, so they can find me on Instagram, the Richard Gonzales SA. So basically SA for San Antonio. Okay. So that would be the main one. If you find me Richard Gonzales on Facebook, there's like a billion of them. So
do you have one for your business?
I have Facebook pages only. Yeah. Okay.
Well, anything you guys got for real estate, any questions you got for my boy over here, please feel free to ask, comment, share. Did you went on Jonathan Rodriguez Limitless CEO podcast, right? Yeah. Did you tell your story on there?
Yeah, I did.
So he did not tell it here. He just gave you guys a good bunch of freaking nuggets to take home. But if you guys do want to listen to the story, Jonathan Rodriguez will have it on his Limitless CEO podcast. Another great guy. So at least you will have him have his story on one podcast and the business side on the other. Please go ahead, follow my guy, share. Make sure that you ask anything really, because at the end of the day, this is the type of people that you want to be able to sit with, talk to, interact, rub shoulders with. And then just to put into perspective, my parents always told me, dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres, right? And I was like, I was hanging around with people that did coke, that drank, that smoked weed. And I was like, but I'm not like that. And I didn't understand the impact that it was doing. It's like, yeah, you may not be doing it, but you're also not doing any better.
Correct.
Right? Until I start hanging around individuals that actually are doing better. So these are the individuals that you want to be around. These are the individuals you want to ask questions with, ask questions to. These are the type of individuals that you definitely want to be able to connect with. So anything you guys got, any questions, any comments, please feel free to reach out. And again, Guerreros, let's go. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.